All right, well, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to call to order this regular Board of Education meeting Monday, October the 9th. First item on the agenda that we need to discuss is make a little slight modification to the order of reports. So we'd like to move G, Annual Transportation Director Report from Mike McCoy to the first item in that report section. So make that A and then move everything back a letter outside of that. That's the only change we're going to make. So with that, I'll move to approve the agenda as organized. Yes, a second. Okay, motion and second. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. A lot of guests in the audience today and on the online, probably we have a lot of presentations today. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Be a good meeting. Received communications. Anybody have anything to share this month? Okay, all right. Citizens Open Forum. It looks like we have one presenting tonight. So Robert Moran presenting for CCCHS on the topic of Board of Education support. Go ahead and read this real quick, Robert.
Yep.
The board appreciates patrons taking time to talk to us about our policies and procedures. We do set aside this time every meeting to hear from the public. Your comments should be directed towards the policy or the procedures our administrators established to carry them out. This is not an appropriate time or place for patrons to make comments of a personal nature about district employee or students. Persons making comments which violate the privacy rights of district employees and students will be asked to stop speaking and cease their remarks. If a patron or parent has a concern with one or more employees, the board will refer that person to the appropriate administrator and the board will follow up at a future meeting. Persons speaking will be allowed 3 minutes each to express their opinions. In cases where a large number of patrons have similar opinions, a single speaker should be chosen to represent a larger group. Thank you for taking the time to discuss district business with the board. Okay, come on up. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'd like to take a few minutes to thank and express my appreciation to our current USD 379 Board of Education. You all have been tasked with making tough decisions for the benefit of our current and future students, and you have done that job with grace and integrity. Regardless of which side we lie on, the upcoming school board elections should not be based on whether we were in favor of a new stadium or not. It should be based on what you plan to do going forward for the benefit of our schools and for our students. Yes, there's a lot that goes into those decisions, and it isn't always black and white concerning what needs to be done. Not everyone will agree with your decisions, even when they are in the best interest of our students. But I trust from what I have seen in your previous actions that you are more than capable of leading our schools in the right direction. And as for the Mark A. Chapman Activity Complex, I know that I won't directly benefit from it personally or professionally. That doesn't matter. When I see our kids using it daily and I hear their comments, I know that they love this new facility, they appreciate it, and they take pride in being able to use an updated facility on our own school grounds. As an educator, a counselor, and a coach, their opinions are the ones that matter to me. They're the ones I care about. Thank you.
Board comments is next. Anybody have anything that I can share?
I've got a list, and it's a pretty significant list, but it's really a great testament to how much success our students are having in their extracurriculars. So you guys will bear with me. Kaylee Chambers will place in her FFA. 1 grain champion shorthorn heifer, bred and owned at the state fair, and reserve champion shorthorn at the Kansas Junior Livestock Show. So basically like winning state for the livestock showing. CCCHS band earned a 1 rating at the Kansas State Fair marching band competition. Addie Gurney and Alexa Leitzel twirled at the K-State game with the K-State All-Star Band, and they also competed internationally this past August. CCCHS tennis girls team qualified 4 girls for state, and they took 3rd at our regionals. CCCHS girls cross country team took 2nd at Rimrock and 1st at Junction City meet, beating out 6A, 5A or 6A, the Junction City, and being state ranked. So pretty dang big deal. CCCHS volleyball team winning a big tournament in Council Grove this weekend and are currently state ranked. CCCHS football team being state ranked and 4-1 on the season. CCCMS seventh grade volleyball and seventh grade football teen league champions. And Kara Flourish with the golf team qualified for state today. So that is a lot of great achievement by our students just in the last couple months. And I hope that they can be as proud of themselves as we are of them.
Anybody else?
I got to host second grade again for Lincoln Ag Day, and that is just a fun day, and it takes a lot of work from a lot of different people. There's a whole group of people that serve a lunch to the kids, different businesses that the kids go to, take tours of facilities, and I just thank all of the community members and businesses who opened up to have many young children go through their facilities. I thank them so much. And a special thank you to the bus drivers who I know I'm guessing, Mike, I don't coordinate the buses, but I'm guessing that it takes quite a bit of coordination of getting all of those buses for all of those kids, for all of those groups. And it's a fun, cool day. And then Garfield also has an Ag Day, and I especially thank the high school students for their help in leading that, because I know that they have to take time out of their schedule from days they're already missing to go do activities. They also take a day to go help the Garfield students. So it's just great things happening around our schools.
Anybody else? All right, thank you all. So that moves us then to the presentation section, and the first is Ronnie's audit presentation. I believe we have Nicole Schwartz. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Seems like we were just here doing the audit. This is probably the quickest turnaround we've ever had. We came out and did field work, and can we make that October meeting? Well, maybe we did it. So that's because the people here do a great job. So when we can come, they are ready. The information is ready. And this year we had to test 2 federal programs. And so there was double work to be done, but it all got finished and completed. In front of you, you should have a burgundy binder, and in that is a letter that's loose. This is our required governance letter. Any issues or concerns we have during our audit would be in this letter. We also emphasize at the beginning of the letter that the financial statement is your responsibility as a governing body and as management. And our job is to present, to issue an opinion to whether we feel it's fairly stated in all material respects. There were no adjusting entries proposed. So the numbers you're seeing tonight are the same numbers that the administration would have presented to you for your June 30 total. So it is a clean governance letter. The audit itself, again, if you'll turn to pages 1, 2, and 3, this is the auditor's part of the report. This is our auditor's opinion or auditor's report. This district, as almost every district in Kansas, reports under the KMAG model, which is basically the cash basis. And so when you read the opinion, the first 2 paragraphs say adverse and unmodified. This is based on GAAP. You don't report under GAAP. So the 3rd paragraph is where you get your clean opinion. It is an unmodified or clean opinion on the regulatory basis of accounting. So clean opinion. The rest of the report's just additional auditor jargon. And then because you have a federal audit, there's a couple extra paragraphs on page 3. And we'll talk about that when we get a little further in the report. Page 4 is the actual financial statement of the district. Down the left-hand side are all the funds that the district uses. We start off with your unencumbered cash from the prior year. We show receipts, expenditures, and ending unencumbered cash for each fund. We add back outstanding encumbrances to come to your reconciled balance at the end of the year. So you started the year with $7,164,733. You collected $32 million. You spent $32.4, and you ended the year with $7,457,538. You can see down there below where that money's at. The bulk of it is in Union State Bank, with other smaller deposits in United Bank and Riley State Bank. We do back out an amount there of $145,000. That is the agency funds, or those class funds that don't belong to the district, and those are identified at the back of the report. The next several pages are the notes to the financials, which I'm not going to read to you. I'm sure you're glad. But if you'll turn to page 8, this is a summary of the debt of the district. You have 2 outstanding GO bonds, a 2015 bond and a 2022A refunding bond. All payments were made timely and in accordance with the amortization schedules. You made a total, you also have a lease purchase, an HVAC equipment that you have a lease purchase on. So your total payments for the year were $1,481,261 in principal, and you paid $148,870 in interest. That number to the far left or far right. And then down below shows the maturities of the debt of the district. There was no new debt issued in FY 23. All right, then if you will skip over to page 14, each of those funds that we displayed at the front on that first statement have their own page in the back. So we're just going to show you how it's set up. The general fund is page 14. This is where you get a little more detail on each of those funds. So you can see the funding for the general fund is primarily state aid. Yeah, $10,202,000 in state aid, some miscellaneous reimbursements, and then the expenditures by the natural class, instruction, student support services, and on. But it shows you your actual versus your budget, and then any variance over and under. Now, if you will skip back to page 36. As we mentioned before, you had a federal audit again this year. If you spend more than $750,000 in 1 year of federal dollars, you're subject to this additional audit called the single audit or uniform guidance. They're talking about raising the threshold to $1 million, but right now it's $750,000. In order for us to audit you, we have to test 40% of your total federal expenditures. So that meant this year we got to test 2 programs instead of 1. So we tested ESSER and a special ed or the IDEA cluster. So the reports on 36 through 39 are the additional reports required for the single audit. They are clean reports. 36 talks about internal control. So if we felt you had a weakness in internal control, that would have to be reported here, which we did not. Page 38 talks about the testing for those major programs. So this talks about compliance on the programs we tested, and we had no findings on the programs we tested. So again, clean report. Page 40 is your schedule of federal expenditures. So you can see that the district spent a total of $2,578,910. We're required to test 40%. So we did pick up the ESSER. We tested the ESSER funds, and we also tested the special ed cluster. So the special ed cluster is there near the top. Starts with 744,000. There's 2 items there for a total of 772. And then your ESSER is the 84.425 D and U. So they're a total of 206,560 and 374,648. And then finally on page 42, this is our schedule of findings and question costs. We had no findings. You will notice about 2/3 of the way down, auditee qualified as low risk, and the answer is no, but that's always going to be no, because no one that reports under KMAC can never be low risk. It's just by definition. That's why we have to test 40 instead of 20. Any questions? I know that was fairly quick.
So just a quick glance on page 38, it says Abilene. It has USD 379 in that first paragraph, but it says Abilene.
We
So
will fix that.
I'm gonna take that out.
We will fix that. You know, 3 people read this. And it's probably been that way since the day we took this over, because those don't change. So we will get that fixed. Any other questions? I just want to say thank you to the district. They do a fabulous job, and what they do is not easy. There's a lot of rules they have to follow, a lot of things they have to be aware of, and they do a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a special testament to all of Andrea and the board offices work here that we have another clean audit. Yeah.
I believe then that takes us to the consent agenda section of our meeting tonight. Any questions on any item in the consent agenda?
When do we get paid on the ESSER money?
You don't, you draw it down.
So I see we're like negative about 316,000 between ESSER 2 and 3.
Yeah, so that's one of the only funds that public entities are allowed to go in the negative, and so they don't pay you up front. So we had our ESSER plans approved, you guys approved them, then KSD had approved them, the state board approved them. And then as we make those expenditures, we actually pay it, go negative, and then we submit our information to the state, and then they pay us back for it. So they actually recommend that you always run your federal funds in the negative, because if you're not, it means you're not making your expenditures before you get reimbursed. So good question there. Thank you.
Right, just comment on the principal reports, the attendance rates are excellent. It's really great to see the progress we made on that. I appreciate those being too.
Huge shout out to all the folks in our buildings and our counseling staff, and Lisa heads that up. She has monthly meetings with every building. And it's been a concerted effort by all of our staff to really improve those attendance rates, encourage our parents and families on how important school is and how important it is to be there. And so they made great progress last year and continue to do so this year. So Lisa, thank you for heading that up.
And that shows if that improves, so does student achievement outcomes. So all good stuff. Happy to see it too. Great. Anything else in consent agenda?
I move to approve consent agenda.
A motion and second to approve. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right, very good. So then that takes us right to the report section, which Mr. McCoy, you're up.
Thank you for letting me speak up today.
That.
Mr. McCoy, you're welcome. Just sit right next to Jacqueline.
Perfect. I don't mind.
Conversation.
Now, whatever. Okay, well, I will try to be brief, but thorough if I can be. So I don't know, did you get my report? Okay, perfect, very good. So just kind of a overview, you know, I did the same thing last year. I just kind of expanded on it this year. So some of the things that we were able to implement, and there was a lot. You know, they maximizing the efficiency of the routes and using the new software. It's been great. We're still learning, just like with every software, you know, hey, I wonder if I can do that. And, oh, I can, or I can't, or whatever the case may be. But one of the big things that we did this year was for routes, everybody was notified via email, instead of having to stuff envelopes and mail them out. So we were able to email out routes, and that went really well. We had a couple of them. The issue we ran into were in the smaller towns where we had multiple people. It was kind of difficult to take the time out and make sure everybody had the same time, because it wanted to put everybody a little bit apart just because of the software, but it went well. Couple of the other things that were kind of on the goal list last year was to get the lift into the shop. We did get a lift. We got to use lift. Worked great. It's been a lifesaver. It's been very nice. Allows us to do a lot more in the shop. Right now in the mornings, we're running at about 60% capacity on buses, which is high. It's, you know, a lot of those buses are rated for 47 kids, but in all honesty, you get 30 on there and it's a sardine can. But yeah, we're running pretty efficiently. Afternoons, we don't even measure because of sports and all that. There's just no way to, you know, some days you're full, some days you're empty. It just depends on what's going on that day. Let's see here. As far as staffing, one of the goals was to recruit some people, and we're gonna lose drivers due to attrition and age. It's just a matter of fact. So still trying to get some new drivers in. Right now, we're staffed exactly where we need to be as far as routes. We did have to modify some routes to get to that point. We could definitely get some new bodies in there and kind of ease up on a couple of routes and shorten them up. We could definitely use people as we get them. We do have Tim working with Mrs. Lane on the recruitment and retention program. So he's embraced that and doing a great job on that. So that's been exciting. The in-town route has its challenges. It's still the best option that we have. You know, the biggest challenge on that again is capacity. Some days you're full, some days you're empty. We're trying to get a monitor hired to get on that bus as well. We do have a new camera system. That was one of the things that we worked on last year. We do have the camera system in there. And we're still working the kinks out of that, but it's working well for what we aren't using it to its full potential. We're trying to get there, but it's doing what it needs to do at this point. So technology and I are not great friends, but we're learning, we're working together. Radios, we're still waiting on radios. They talked to them today. We're almost a year in from when we started talking about getting the radios. He finally got the demo radio or a radio in that he can tinker with and learn on. So he got that a week ago, I think he said. So, but everything's set up and ready to go. We have the broadcast channel, the license, everything is ready to go. We just need the radios in our hands. So, and we found a couple better alternatives instead of buying the full radios for the schools. I asked the schools, kind of queried them on if they wanted a radio. Lincoln would be a good option to have a radio. And Garfield is kind of on that bubble. Since we staged there, it'd be nice if they had a radio as well. We can get them radios that they can hear everything that's communicated on it, but they can't transmit. Which it would be nice if they could transmit, but when you're looking at $2,000 for a radio you can transmit on, or $500 for a radio that you could hear everything on, since they're in a location, they would be able to listen and pick up the phone and call instead of maybe transmitting. So the cost savings on that's probably worth, going with the lower end radio so they can at least hear. A lot of times if you have a student that missed a bus or something, it'll be relayed over the radio, they'd be able to hear it, and then they could call and say, hey, that student's here, or, at project lead, or whatever the case might be. Let's see here, lift. We did have an expense on a computer. This is something that we, at this point, have to have. All the buses are, almost all of them, all the new ones are computerized. We had a very basic system that did not like to talk to the diesel buses. If you go to the major sellers, which are Matco and Snap-on, 10,000 plus for those computer systems. I actually found a vendor that just does school buses. The only thing their computer does is hooks to school buses. So substantially cheaper when they can eliminate all that other software that we don't use. And it was less than $3,000. So it was a third of the price, and it does everything that we needed to do. So, and it's worked out great. Another nice thing with that is most of them have a subscription you have to purchase every year. This one had 2 years of free updates, and the subscription or the renewal is substantially cheaper than the other companies. So that is good. Other thing that we've changed is evacuation drills. You might have heard from your kids. We used to do 2 a year on the bus where we chased everybody down at the bus stops and do it, which is fine. And it's completely acceptable by the state. We've changed it so that we're doing one evacuation. The first one, everybody in the school is doing. So we'll actually go to the school with the bus, give them a presentation about behavior, emergencies, all that good stuff. Walk them through it. We'll go outside and walk them through it. That gets all the kids that don't ride buses, but they ride them on activities or not normal days. That gets them the etiquette and the process too. And the state accepts it as one of the emergency evacuations. So that's been a good change. I like that one. I don't know about the 20-minute conversation in front of 500 people. Let's see here. So again, goals this year is going to be to evaluate the radio system. We're getting 6 of them. We need about 12 of them to get every route bus in there. So, but I didn't want to, jump in and something that we didn't like. So we'll get those in, see how they work for us and go from there. Like I said, we did all handhelds versus mounted in the buses. Maybe it's a deal where we want to buy mounted in the buses next time. The advantage of handhelds, you can take them with you if there's an emergency. We can keep them accounted for. They are in the bus. So. Almost every bus has a camera system in it. A couple of our substitute buses don't. The normal regular route buses have camera systems in them. So that's going good. And we're doing forward facing and inward facing. They do have audio as well. So I wanted the forward facing. Most of the buses, it's just basically a generic dash cam. Very inexpensive, and they work very well. We've not had any issues with it. Projects that we're kind of working on, trying to do a little facelift at the buildings. So I'm trying to work with Craig on getting some paint done, just to kind of make it match the rest of the facilities. I don't know that it's ever been painted. It's getting to the point where it's kind of ugly. And in that packet as well, and I know Brett's been working on it, is updated district first strainer seatbelt policy. So we don't have one. I don't know how much you want to get in, but the state of Kansas doesn't require seatbelts for anybody. We Seaville pre-K students, so we need a policy that's in place that supports us for Seaville and pre-K students or special needs students, so.
Mr. McCoy put together a little draft and we send it up to council and KSB. They're reviewing it now. So whenever they get done with it, we'll run by Dusty and then bring it here when it's ready. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just felt it was something that we needed. And I'm still working on trying to coordinate with Bud on getting a student intern or a high school student to ride as a monitor or something like that. I think it's a good opportunity. We just haven't found the right person, found the right situation yet. So it's something I'd really like to do and expand our CDL program to offer to high school students. So that's on the wish list, but those are pet projects, not official projects.
Questions from Mr. McCoy?
What a great thing that you're doing and have done already, so.
Appreciate your vision and hard work. It's-
Try it.
You think of things that I don't even realize you're thinking of, so.
There's a lot
all
in
you do.
a lot involved that I didn't realize, you know,
You
once
didn't
you get
realize
into it, you're like, wow, there's a lot more to it, you know, you got that many people.
Yeah, you got
that
that
many
many drivers,
students,
that many activities. and
Yeah, yeah,
That many schools.
rules and regulations, you kind of, looks like or feels like every time you look at something, you open up a can of worms. You're like, guess we'll do this.
Mike, you did say
Thank you
that.
for saving us on that bus over, by the way. too.
Mhm.
That's a big number.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you know, unfortunately, some things were just a necessity at this point. You know, and not to brag, but we've not sent a bus out sublet repair since I've been here. So that was a very common thing. And you've got, you know, shop fees, they're over $100 an hour. You gotta get it there. And we've been able to do everything in-house, and we offer to other districts too, especially with this new computer. Hey, you have a light on, because a lot of the local shops that they take it to don't have that software. So, you know, I put out the word that we have it. If you need it, come down and we'll more than happy to assist you. We've been helping Head Start a lot. I know there was some cooperation before, but we've really been, and obviously, you know, there's an acceptable agreement between it. We don't do it for, you know, but we've been doing a lot of work with them. They had a couple buses that they could not get fixed and couldn't get past for the highway patrol inspections. And so we took one of them in and got it repaired, and we actually had one that we had to have re-inspected, so we just had highway patrol come down and do it all. So, but trying to build a little bit of cooperation between districts and entities, all that good stuff.
And just one thing, circling back on the recruiting and training, but the recruiting piece specifically,
Mhm.
so you said Tim, I think you said is working with
Yep.
Mrs. Lane on the new committee, and very supportive, okay.
Yep.
great,
We have
Absolutely.
somebody from every department.
Wonderful.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, and that's just a piece of, I mean, we've been talking to Bud about career day. We want to go up there and present. They aren't gonna go this year, but we want to get involved with that when they do have the next one going up there. And we did, you guys were gracious enough to do the recruitment bonus, which hopefully I get to do for the first time here in a few days. But yeah, that helps definitely. It makes a difference, keeps people talking, you know, and that's how you get people. It's not the King ads or the website, it's people talking for us anyways.
Does the change in activity pay help?
It has. It has made a difference. We really only have 2 activity drivers at this point. Anybody that stayed on, everybody else is a route driver that does activities, which makes it's a challenge. But it also makes your drivers a lot more willing that they aren't taking that pay cut to do that activity. You know, when you can say, hey, it's the same money, it makes a difference. So.
Nice, anything else for Mike? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice
Appreciate
job.
it. Good job. Thank you.
Yeah, great report.
Off the football.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank
Is the game.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay, that moves us on to item B, which is board reports. Anybody have anything to share today?
I wanted to let you all know I'm a representative of the board on the retention and recruitment team. I know Mr. Nelson's going to talk about it, but I just wanted you to know I'm there and listening to what they have to say. And there's also some things brought up of things that we could do as a board to advocate at the state level for things that could potentially help us, like licensure changes and that kind of stuff for retirees. So if there's things that come, I'll make sure to put them in here and give you information about it. And I'll let Mr. Nelson share. I don't want to take your whole.
Anybody have anything else? This is Nelson's board report, so take it away.
All right, thank you. Little update on childcare. We're still working on a heavier list of questions that you posed last month, and we're collecting data and information on those tasks and items. And I listed out a few bullets of kind of where we are just in the investigation phase, investigating all options for possible locations, working with VHS to help us with professional opinions on any costs that might be associated with any future projects, visiting with lots and lots of school districts around the state that have already done this and kind of their learning do's and don'ts from what they've learned. And so we're collecting some good information there. And we continue to coordinate with Grow regarding any potential grant funding that might be available. So we will keep updating you each month and share information as it comes. Strategic planning update, lots and lots of work. I know it seems like this has been a long process, and it should be a long process, in my opinion, if it's done authentically and it's done with, the feedback necessary and the research necessary to develop the strategic plans. And so, as you know, your community group got together, you guys gave us some goals, some objectives, some lag outcomes that we need to work on. And now we are in the process of actually developing the strategic plan and processes to carry those out. And so we're kind of taking one goal at a time. And so responsive culture of learning was first, because it has to align with our KISA accreditation cycle. And so our DLTs and our BLTs have been heavily involved in those plans. And so it continues to make that circle communication loop. So from admin to DLT, from DLT to BLT, and then BLT brings the information they gather at their buildings back to us. We have a really good, solid foundation, I think, for possible lag outcomes, and we will continue to share those things as they come about. So the next step in that process is that each building align their building improvement goals with the district goal that aligns to the board goal. And so we have that cadence of accountability. So that is all in process. With that goal, we should have some finality to the outcomes around December or January to share with you and talk about. And so by December, you should be able to see the kind of the scope and entirety of that strategic plan for that goal. But then, as you know, we have 3 others. And so last week, I asked Mrs. Lane to co-chair a committee with me revolved around your goal of staff recruitment and retention. And so we took recommendations for nominations from each building leadership team on their recommendations for which colleagues in their building they felt would have a passion and a desire to serve on this committee. And we did have our first meeting last week. We will meet 6 to 8 times with hopefully some finality for you to discuss and chew over a little bit between now and then, but hopefully by April 1st, we would have some strong strategic plans and processes, goals and objectives in place. So that way, most things when you think staff recruitment, attention, not all, but probably a lot of them will require money. And so we wanted to make sure you guys had that information prior to negotiation season. So we could look at that with what budgeting looks like for the following year and incorporate that there. With the stakeholder engagement goal, I've asked Mr. Weller to co-chair a group with me on stakeholder engagement. And we're meeting this week to kind of outline what that looks like, what stakeholders we need to be involved in that group. And certainly we'll extend an invitation to the board if you guys would like a committee member to serve on that group. We don't have a end timeline for that goal yet, but I would hope that by the end of the school year, we have a pretty well thought out and put together strategic plan that outlines the work that we're going to do to achieve the board goals we established. But again, a long process, pretty exciting. It does require some of us to be out of the district from time to time, but I am sharing Speaker Wichita next week with a group of SUPS kids. We would come and share kind of our process this far and what we've learned, so other school districts can learn from the process that we've gone through. And again, I'm sure we will learn information while we're there too, but excited to do that. And then of course we have the KSB showcase that is on Wednesday, October 15th. There'll Did I put, it's the 18th, scratch what I wrote in board docs, October 18th at 11. Thank you, Jacqueline. And so we would like to extend an invitation to any board members. They would like, if you're willing, a board member or two to attend and be a part of that process. So if that's something that you feel passionate about, feel like you could give to, just shoot August an email. And if you could do that within the next couple of days. It starts at 11, but it'll be spread out through the afternoon. And so we could work with schedules. And so if that day or afternoon works for you and you are interested, just let August know a time chunk that day that you'd be available, and I can send the list of questions that they have, but it's basically they would like to showcase our district and the work that we've done and talk to you about what were some of the challenges. Why did you engage in a strategic planning process? What do you see as the benefit to the district? And then they would like to go share that with other districts. They're pretty impressed with the work that we've done and they want to showcase it. So shoot August an email, please, if you're interested. And this isn't in my report, but I did get an email from KSD today that's fairly exciting. Kansas has the Kansas Can Star Recognition Awards. And so that's the Kansas Can outcomes, the target areas in which KSD and the State Board of Education has said is the most important work that school districts can do. And we were recognized in all 4 categories as recognized as doing great work. And so 2 areas we had not been ranked in before, and we kicked up, I think, 3 categories in kindergarten readiness and individual plan of study. And in graduation rate and post-secondary effectiveness, we went from copper to bronze also. So that is really, really exciting that we were recognized by KSD and the Kansas Can Star program to make movement and growth in every single one of their areas. And that's a testament to our district and the great work that our staff and does every day. So again, I just got that letter today and it was really exciting. And then, as you guys know, that information transfers over to our accountability reports or the SR reports. Those usually follow the star recognition. And so probably the end of October or 1st of November, we'll have those new accountability reports that will show our increase in graduation rate, our increase in post-secondary success. So pretty neat.
Can you guys include that on the website, please?
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
When it's
Good. Yep, great. Needs to be known.
That is all I have. Happy to take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Nelson?
Did I need to scroll down a little further? Would you like to hear about enrollment?
Yeah. Real quick.
Okay. So as you know, September 20th is a big day for school districts. Whether we like the process or not, a student does have to be in a seat in our school on September 20th. If they're not there on September 20th, they have to be at least one day before the 20th and one day after they were absent that day within a time period. I don't recall the due dates. And so we continue to stay relatively steady. My early projections, I did have just so you know, in last month's report, I did have an error in one of my formulas, but this is straight from our PBR and it's SO66, which we report. So Linda, thank you for catching that. And as you know, the K-12 total, that is the number that we know we can count on for at least the next 2 years. So you use prior year, preceding year, whichever is higher. On top of that, for current year, we always get the weightings for pre-K SPED, pre-K 4 at risk and pre-K 3 at risk, and those numbers do change. And so, and especially with SPED, you do a count September, you also get a count in December and a count in May, and then they take your average number, and that's what you get, and you get current year funding for that. And so those pre-K numbers do ebb and flow with whether a student might qualify when they turn 3 and we start serving them, then we would get credit for 0.5 FTE. And so our base aid is down slightly for K-12, but still within the neighborhood. As you scroll down further, our free and reduced numbers have continued to increase and then increase significantly again, especially in the free category. And so, and just as a reminder, you get that additional 0.485 weighting for a student that qualifies for a free lunch. And then that's a mandatory transfer from it comes into general fund, and then whatever that number is, we transfer to at risk.
August, does the whole district have to be at 50% to change the lunches? Or can we qualify by building?
It's either, there's separate programs. I mean, it's all under one program, but you can qualify in different ways.
Or in
So you
our
can qualify at
building
building
loads?
under that CEP.
Right,
We kind of did the math and we would have to talk to somebody that does it. We just didn't see how they were gonna pull it off.
okay,
Because if everybody was free, if you give everybody the meals for free, you got to claim only a certain percentage
of the,
under that
okay,
reimbursement rate, and then the rest were under a different reimbursement rate, and it just didn't, we weren't even gonna break even. And I'm not sure how it works out for some.
some people and not
Yeah.
others, right?
You have to have an extremely high level, in order for it to
I think
probably
so.
work. So
I just thought we
50% is
should-
gonna be
And we
enough.
actually have a food service audit at the end of November. So when our coordinator is here, I could ask her kind of how does that,
I just
I
knew
mean, how
that
does
we
it
were
work for
close
other
to that
people?
threshold, and I thought that there was a way to do it by building.
There-
Thank you
there
for
is.
clarifying that.
and I
because
think at
I
least
know
one of our
this-
buildings could make it, but
So 50% would qualify us, but that doesn't
Qualify
that
us.
doesn't get everyone paid free.
Right,
It's a formula
and
and.
then
you
like
can't-
that next formula, it doesn't necessarily benefit us.
Yeah, the
and you
net's
can't-
not any better.
we'd be in the.
Right, we'd be in the red.
Yeah,
And
so
we've
when
worked
she's
hard
here, I
to
might
not be.
just say, hey, what is the magic?
Is it
Way that this works for
75%,
somebody else?
right? Is
Yeah.
it 80%?
Oh,
Is it
gotcha.
near 100%?
Yeah.
Likely it's gonna be a.
Right, it's
Much
maybe
more.
much higher percentage.
And August, is it free reduced percentage or is free?
I thought it was
There,
free.
well, it's
If it's
free,
just
but
free,
then there's
you're-
also like
you're-
provisions, there's several provisions underneath that do include the reduced people. So there are a
Okay.
lot of different pieces underneath that I just couldn't see that it would work for us.
Okay.
A similar conversation happens with after school programming, and like our directors go to these meetings and they talk about these programs.
And then you go to.
But when you do the math, it really, for us, where we're at, we're just really close to the line, we're not.
Not
Like
enough.
significantly over it.
Okay, okay. Thank you for clarifying, because we had talked about some of those.
So in a
Areas
nutshell,
of
right, we're
power.
better off taking the 0.485 that we get
Mhm.
and then.
No, that's great.
Rather
I
than
just,
the other.
I knew that there was that threshold. Thank you for looking into it, because you are a lunch guru.
So overall, you can see free and reduced wise, we went from 44.38 to 46.6 this year, which is. Again, you can see from year to year, fairly, the last few at least. Pretty significant increases, so.
Any questions for Mr. Nelson?
Does Mrs. Green's visiting another LF district board meeting tonight, but her report is concluded.
Let's move on, news report. And we'll move on to Director of Curriculum Instruction and hear from Jacqueline.
Okay, I have one little thing, but the comp day is the 21st of October. I don't think they would think it's funny that the Saturday is a comp day. So anyways, sorry about that. Conferences, I start out my report by sharing what each building's kind of doing. If you read in there, the middle school and did a little adjustment after some feedback from families. And then the high school, I think, and Clay Center, they're on their second year doing that, but the senior IEPs are just a little bit different this year. So IPSs. So little change in both of those schools. And I know, I think Wakefield, due to referees and whatnot, had to make a little adjustment to their fall sports activities. So the middle schools had to juggle that the last few years, but Wakefield will have to juggle that as well on that Thursday night, just with activities, but they'll be able to handle that. So we look forward to the conference time. The teachers do have work day this Friday afternoon to prepare for that. And then we have our district leadership team coming up on November 2nd. Again, as Mr. Nelson mentioned, working towards his action plans on that responsive culture goal. One of the pieces that has already come out of that is working with our students on the success skills. So we're bringing in on the 13th, a speaker who's actually going to be at K-State later that week, but we have her here to work with all of our teachers on that Monday, secondaries in the morning and elementaries in the afternoon. Just some ways to engage kids in the classroom. Hope every teacher can leave there with one thing they can do the next day to just increase engagement and be, monitor behaviors and whatnot. So just want to give them more tools for their toolbox. It's kind of a one-day thing to have her come in here and national speaker. So we're excited about that. At conference time, we'll also be sharing driver's ed information with our families. We have still the format where the coursework is online and our staff handle the in-car experience. And families who qualify for free and reduced, they have to pay the $250 up front. But if their child successfully completes the whole thing, we are involved in a grant with the Department of Transportation and they get $200 of that $250 back. Usually not till the fall, usually in September, right around start of school, but they have to successfully complete the whole program before we can give them the refund. So that's all I had on there. And I do have the next report. If you want me, can I go ahead and just go on into that? Okay, so it kind of feeds off of what Mr. Nelson and August were talking about related to free and reduced. I share our data based on elementary, middle, and high. You can see our elementary kind of stayed the same. Our middle school numbers and high school numbers are both up. I think that's just a trend over all of our district. So, last year we were 44.74, and this year we're up to 47% for free and reduced. Down below, I have our Title I funds that we receive, and we're down a little bit on those. This is based on a federal formula that feeds into the census and then whatever they allocate, but we use that to pay for free intervention teachers. And then we have a little bit that we can use for supplies or professional development. And then the Title IIA, it's went from 41 down to 38. It primarily pays for our mentors and our new teacher professional development. We pay our national board certified teachers through that. A lot of professional learning comes out of that as well. And then our Title IV, student support and academic enrichment, and it's up just a little bit. We kind of look at that a little differently every year. I know this year there's some money spent on there for some STEM and science. We kind of wait and see too at the end of the year. Usually what I have at the end of the year is what we buy for them to use for the next year. So we will kind of look at that in the spring. And then our after school money is also under Title IV, but under the 21st century. So Lincoln and Garfield is still on the 100,000. They're year 3 of 5. So next year they will drop. You always drop in year 4 and 5. And then Wakefield's on year 4 or 5. So I just put those numbers in there. And then another piece of federal funding that we get is our Perkins funding to help support our CTE programs. And I listed on there who got what. We have the teachers all put in their request, and then we bring a rep from each cluster to the table. And I actually stepped to the side and I let them, I said, here's how much money we have. Let them hash it out, who's going to get what. They kind of look at the request. They look at the past history. The principals and myself are around because sometimes they get into a situation where they need just a little bit more to make somebody's purchase. And so that's when we ask those administrators or myself who's going to come up with it. So, but this year we did a nice job. I've got about $9,800 worth of equipment and or professional development. So it was a nice year. And that does, just so you know, that runs through Smoky Hill. Okay, all this other stuff is like Brett was saying, it's a drawdown. We have to spend it before we get it. The only thing that we draw down every month is Title I because it's 3 people's salary. So we already know what that is every month and we draw that down regularly. As far as the Perkins go, we make the purchase and we code it to, we have a special program code for Smoky Hill because all of our Perkins money actually goes to the Smoky Hill Education Center in Salina. So then we take all of our receipts and we send them all to Smoky Hill and they reimburse us. We don't actually get reimbursed from the state. And that's pretty, I don't know the threshold off the top of my head, but most Perkins funds runs through a consortium. There's so many guidelines to how you can and can't spend it. And so they run them through there and we just get reimbursed. So we will usually twice a year, we try to do one reimbursement in December. And we take everything else like April and get reimbursed. So.
All right, that then takes us to the annual food service report by Joy.
How are you?
Hello.
Jack, want to do pretty hard?
She's got PowerPoint.
It's easier.
Just I don't, just a second. I need to move it over. Just a second. I didn't know that, so these in a second to move it over here.
Here, I got it.
You got it?
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, Joy, you're welcome to get started.
Okay, I'm gonna introduce myself. I'm Joy Lund. I'm the new director. I started in March last year when Andrew resigned. And here we are.
She's hit the ground running and doing a great job. We appreciate her work.
Thank you.
You have to tell me to click.
Oh, yeah. You can go ahead. So, we have a total of 16 members. I think we're just up to 1. 2 of our team members promoted to kitchen lead from food service. 1 team member promoted from kitchen lead to director of dining services, which was me. This year we got involved with the pietique. However, the wind wasn't our friend that day. Our float looked pretty nice before we got out there. We've done some discovery kitchens. I think Andrew had mentioned that last fall at Wakefield, Garfield and middle school. And we did the event for the Rotary Club, the pizza. This is our showing where we're at as far as for the last 3 years. It looks like we're about the same place as we were last year, maybe a little bit below on breakfast. And our lunch, it's staying pretty steady. I know there's been other things, activities like Star Base and such that has taken some of that. Not all of it, but. And now
It
it's.
did in my house. I mean, because they were gone once a week for basically the whole month of September. So you multiply that by 80 kids. I mean, I can see how that would make a difference of that much.
And some did take, we
Right,
offered
yeah,
sack lunches
absolutely.
but they want to pack their own, so. So in 21, 22, universal free meals and second chance breakfast numbers, and then there's the 22, 23, and year to date through October. Things that we're gonna revisit the second chance breakfast. I know this has been something that a lot of the schools have not done. I think middle school is probably the only one that's still participating in that daily. We have a few fun days that we're gonna start and expand the special programs, Discovery Kitchen and the Mood Boost. There's something that I would like to try, and it's a cook-off with some of the little kids. So hopefully we can get that started and try that. And our family newsletters and increase social media presence and do the admin and family surveys again. So this year.
Want to talk a little bit about the reason for those? I think they're a great tool.
The survey,
Mhm.
just to kind of get a feel of where our kids are likes, what they would like to see.
What their favorites are.
Yeah, and because they get bored and we can see a lot of that. Something that they may have liked and it's just, they want something different. So we want to try doing that again and see if we can get our numbers to, breakfast is one of the ones that I'd like to see.
What time is second chance breakfast?
Well, at middle school this year, it's like 8:50 to 8:15 is normal time, and then it's 15 minutes later. And it's just a walkthrough. So it's,
And so there's been a lot of talk of this in the school district world and that morning rush time of coming into the building, getting where you need to go. You know, that breakfast isn't always convenient, especially for for students to be able to get in the building, get in a line, get a breakfast and sit down. And so the second chance breakfast is not necessarily a hot breakfast, but it's alternative items that they can more grab and go. So get the day kicked off, get the bell started, and then those kids that are hungry and need a breakfast, it's a time varies in the building based on their schedule, but it's basically a second opportunity to grab a breakfast for a student who may have gotten there late, didn't get in time for the line, heck, maybe wanted to socialize with a friend before the bell rings instead of go through the breakfast line. So it's that, I think the title says that it's a second chance option for a student to grab a breakfast.
and it's good for the morning kids that have sports, like practice, gives them that chance to get a breakfast after.
And during COVID, when it was free, it was a lot easier to do for obvious reasons, you know, when the bell rings, it's like, hey, everyone, we got breakfast, grab something to eat, grab a milk, you know, and it was easy to do that. Whereas now, as you all with, you know, young children at home know, you make choices on based on how much a breakfast costs and is it worth it? Do we eat at home? You know, all of those things come into play. Whereas when it was free, I think families said, well, it's something at school.
Favorite part.
So
Super happy.
any question for Joy?
Your numbers still show that more kids are eating,
Right.
so that's good. I know it's not, you know, free levels, but the numbers still show
That's an
that
anomaly.
we have,
Right.
we were able to purchase things from the food service that my first year serving, we had to supplement through the general fund. So the numbers show that the kids are eating and we're doing a good job.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, I think that takes us through the end of those items. So that moves us to the business and discussion items. We have a couple of others that are going to have an opportunity to present tonight. However, let's just, I'll let you kind of stand it up.
Sure. So this is another one of those long, kind of like strategic thing. You feel like you've been working with it for a year or more, and we have, and the same with our partnership with the coalition. I've been on that group since I've been here, so going on year 5 of being a part of that group. It's a great partnership. They do a lot of great things for our county and our community, and they're a great school partner. And I won't attempt to describe all of the grant things, but in the basis form, they helped write a grant in partnership with us to work on several different factors with our youth in the county. Namely, reducing substance use by youth in our county. It's a 5-year grant, $650,000. And a part of that grant was to write a funded position that we would share, be an employee of USD 379. And we set aside the monies necessary to fund this person, our half. The grant would pay half, be our employee, and the job description's in there in case you're of interest to what this person would entail. But we're super excited for what this grant can do, appreciative of Dana and Lori for their work. And then on top of that, we have Lisa and Jess, who are going to talk a little bit about another partnership that we kind of kicked off last year, piloted last year, and it's kicking off this year, and they have some exciting things to share. So I'll leave the rest to them. So welcome, and you guys just let us know what you need. Oh, Jacqueline has you up here. We're ready to rock.
We have the clicker. We have a clicker.
No clicker. Okay.
Yes, clicker. This is your cue.
We may have one more. I don't know.
Oh, well, hello. So,
Wherever you're
Anywhere,
comfortable.
anytime.
Pull up feet, and wherever you're comfortable.
okay.
We'll just be wait till we're.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. And it's been a pleasure to work alongside Brett and Jacqueline and Lisa as active members on our coalition, along with your administrators and counselors. And so as we seek to extend our partnership, because certainly we've had that partnership intact for quite a long time, I thought, gosh, if it's under the business section of your agenda, when you form a business partnership with anybody, certainly it's important to find out who that person is. So, or who that organization is.
Let's try that. Try that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's not
That's
it.
not it.
Let's go this,
Ooh, when you're a guest,
When you're on.
wait, forward. How about this?
Next.
I
It says next.
know,
If you click it.
I know. It's like an old, what? So my clock is ticking.
your clock is, it's okay.
Yeah.
It
You don't
hasn't
have the
started.
time. You don't have the time.
You know.
Maybe just use the keyboard.
Just. So. As we potentially engage. It's okay, it's all good. All right, so who are we? And I've had a lot of people say, I've heard about Clay Counts. I'm just not sure exactly what Clay Counts is. We are based out of the health department and an organization that started in 2005 by Dana and Bill Robinson and
Well, 1997.
97 actually is where it all goes back. It formally became Clay Counts in 2005 in response to concerns that were happening within our community relative to drunk driving accidents and suicide on behalf of youth. And so much like you folks, we have that common goal of wanting to strengthen our community, make our kids more resilient, make our community more resilient. And we know that happens through education. And it happens through education starting young. And so our focus group is youth. And so we partner with you in seeking that end. Clay Counts is grant funded. And we have been busy. Dana and I worked alongside Deb Oldie from the North Central Kansas Planning Commission in authoring a CDC grant, which was recently funded. And in doing that, we relentlessly sought the feedback from the entire community and the members of our coalition, which represent the 12 sectors of Clay County, including education, legal representation, law enforcement, mental health providers, as well as the Ministerial Alliance, which is something that's a little bit unique from a lot of other federally funded programs, is that not only are we encouraged, we're required to seek input from the ministerial sector. And so that kind of sets that apart from maybe your after school grants and Title I. We've also been able to secure funding from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment through a drug endangered children grant and working alongside your counseling staff to
raise awareness of adverse childhood experiences and the impact that has on not only the development of the individual, but the negative impact that has on the community. And we've had youth mental health grants from KDADS. You've heard, I'm guessing, about Y-Link, and we're really excited to have expanded Y-Link down to Wakefield, not only in our high school, but now we've added a middle school chapter there. So we have 4 Y-Link chapters. So we actually bumped that up to $12,000 that we received, as well as our Strengthening Clay County grant that we authored targeting suicide prevention in Clay County. So with that being said, as you can see, we are completely grant funded. No community dollars are sought at all. And why? You might say, well, why has Clay County been able to get almost $1 million in prevention dollars over the next 5 years? Well, first of all, you have to document your effectiveness within the community. And so as becoming partners and vetting the coalition as your partner, I think it's important for you to be aware of the fact that Clay Council was just recently identified as the 2023 Kansas Prevention Council Partner of the Year. And so that's kind of nice to be recognized among your peers, but that's across the entire state. We also have Isabel Blackwood, who is their prevention youth leader. So our kids are doing great things and our coalition is making good things happen. Other stats that were important in seeking that funding is that our Kansas suicide rate is 21 per 1 million people, and that exceeds the national average. Also, the isolation of our rural community and our limited mental health resources that we have in Clay County. When you think about your pupil-teacher ratio, I know you try to keep that in a research-based effective mode, but also when we look at mental health resources, we're at 1 to every 2,000 people, folks. And so what the CDC is seeking is grassroots initiatives so that we can help each other instead of looking to outside sources, which kind of tends to be how it works in a small community anyway. And so we capitalized on that and have a lot of partners that step forward and said, yeah, we want to be part of that. And so we forged ahead and also had to use the data from our Kansas communities that care surveys. And I know that Jacqueline and Lisa have done a nice job of making you aware of that, but some compelling statistics within our own schools is that 31% of our kids said yes when they asked if they've ever seriously considered suicide. And that exceeds the state and national average, you guys. 38% answered yes to having feelings of depression for 2 or more weeks. And that's over a third of kids. 13% of our Clay County kids perceive a low risk of harm in using marijuana. 10% perceive a low risk in using alcohol, and 6% believe that there's a low risk in vaping. So again, it's getting that education to them to help them make their own decisions, because when kids become adolescents and young adults, it's time for them to make their own decisions and choices, and we want them to be as educated in making those choices as possible. So how do you educate kids? You work alongside the school district. And in doing that, the Clay County School District has proven to be a great partner as we've implemented many successful programs. Good example is the speaker that we funded. Maybe those of you that have kids in middle school commented on hearing Chet Kuplin speak to them about internet safety. Clay County wrote the check for that. We've brought speakers in at the high school and middle school level. Last year we had Damon Parker that did a countywide tour on suicide prevention. We've also purchased curriculum materials that are used in all the freshman health classes, as well as used by our counseling staff as they've implemented the Signs of Suicide program. And so we want to further that. The things that we've identified that would be specifically beneficial to the school district, what's in it for you? That would be that split of salary between the school district and the community coordinator who would work alongside me, as well as the folks here at the district office. We'll be offering parenting classes. We'll continue to offer the Botman Life Skills program. We have historically funded the Clifton Strengths. You may have heard all the high school kids talk about having their strengths identified and doing their career path conferences with their parents, and that's been funded by Clay County and will continue to be. We have plans to bring in the Resist Tobacco Prevention program to both our middle and high schools. Too Good for Drugs in our after-school program. We'll continue to give the Live Clean graduation gifts. Maybe some of you have seen those laundry baskets that we give to all the kids when they graduate, as well as civic and school presentations on mental health, as well as alcohol and drug prevention, and teacher and staff development. And I know we have Kelsey here tonight, who was an active participant in our assist training. We have had a waiting list for assist, and it was a lot of your teachers and your paras and counselors that were and as well as emotional first aid for youth was last summer. We've brought in speakers to kick off the school year. So we want to continue that momentum and extend it. Other programs, you can see that we have tons of things planned, and we have the funding for it, which is great. It takes human resources to make these things happen. This is our Project Grace. These are our they call them deliverables when you write a grant. And these are our deliverables for Project Grace, which is generating a responsive and caring environment, as well as our community suicide prevention grant. One of the cool things that we have happening the 20th of this month is peer-to-peer suicide prevention training. And so we'll have a cadre of kids at both Wakefield and at the Clay Center High School that will go through a full day of training on their day off. And they've chosen to identify that as their date, starting with the Y-Link officers from each school. And they'll be trained in how to counsel their peers, what to look for, and then what's the right next path, because that seems to be what I keep hearing kids say is, I have a friend, they're struggling, I don't know what to do about it. Help me. And so that's our goal, is to help those kids. October 20th, that's going to happen. Town hall meetings and community education nights. I'm really excited about a program that we'll be offering the 14th of November. And I hope all of you can join us, starting out at the Rex Theater, where we'll provide daycare and food and kind of a centering activity, rallying around having community commitment is what we're calling it. Community commitment night, courageous conversations and a call to action. And so hopefully we'll be able to not only educate and help parents with some of those scary things that I know have been always out there when you're raising kids, but the events of recent losses of kids in our community, I think has brought that to the forefront of a lot of minds of parents. And I know I've been approached, and I know our counseling staff has as well. You know, if that could happen to those kids, it could happen to anybody. I want to know what to do in my own home, what to look for, how to have those conversations with my kids. And so we're working with many folks in our community and bringing in facilitator Elaine Johannes, if any of you know Elaine through Extension in Kansas State. It's going to be our facilitator. So we're excited about that. November 14th, mark your calendar. It's a Tuesday. Not a lot happening in the district. That's why we chose that day, so that y'all could be there. So Teammates is also one of our programs that Clay Counts funds. And we're so excited as we look towards the implementation of that. It takes boots on the ground, folks. I can only work 20 hours as a retired Capers employee. The county is only able to pay me 20 hours a week now. I'm more than happy to do more than that. But as you can see, that's a lot of stuff. And so that, in addition to, I know a lot of the public relation goals that Brett has set for the board and the school district would be the job description of that new community coordinator. So according to the grant, I'll serve as the community resource director, and then this person would work alongside me as the coordinator. And then would be managed collaboratively by your administration here, as well as Dana and myself. So that's my part of the presentation. We sure look forward to implementing Teammates, and I know Lisa and Jess are going to visit with you a little bit about that program specifically. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask?
No questions, just a lot of thanks and appreciation.
Well, Credit
I
goes to
mean,
Dana
And
with her
I mean,
passion for
everyone,
starting it.
right?
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
that has any work in this.
Yeah.
Like you said, boots on the ground, and it takes a village.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's gonna take a lot of us to make this happen. So
Well, thank you for
we're
recognizing.
committed, I'm committed to it. We're committed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So last year or a year ago, we decided to kind of investigate. We knew we needed some more help with our in our counseling area, and mentorship. We know is a research-based practice that we know makes a big difference for kids and for communities and all those things. And we started looking into that, and we thought about trying our own kind of thing. And so we piloted it last year. Jess was one of, I think, 5 or 6 district employees and volunteers that served as mentors to kids in a few of our schools. And it was overwhelmingly successful. We found that some of our kids that had been real frequent flyers to our counseling staff, once they got their mentor, that reduced greatly. They just needed someone every week to talk to. And so as we were looking through, I'd heard about Teammates, which was a program really started in Nebraska by Tom and Nancy Osborne. And hopefully you're none of your Husker fans, but you do know of them probably. But anyway, and it's been going for 30 years. It's in 192 schools in Nebraska, and now it's we have 15 chapters in Kansas. There's some in Iowa, Wyoming, and South Dakota. So we are joining them. We love it because they do all the background checks, screening for all of our mentors, which is a big deal. We need to have that. And they provide lots of good support. And Clay Counts funded the initial fee to join, which is pretty pricey. And they'll help us also with the annual fee, which is minimal, but they'll be helping with that. Jess is we have a board, and Jess is our president of our board. And so together, we're going to tell you just a little bit about Teammates. Won't spend much of your time, but just a little to kind of get you going. So the mission of Teammates is to positively impact the world by inspiring students to reach their full potential through mentoring. And that's really what our goal is. We love the core values. They're committed to youth, safety, which is part of having all of the meetings in school. They're all school-based. Integrity and trust, which again, having that the Teammates model to use to kind of surround us kind of provides that. Inclusion, it's available to every kid, not just at-risk kids. Any kid can have a mentor, and we encourage every kid who'd like a mentor to apply for one. And then it's really focused on strengths, the students' strengths, both the mentor strengths and the students' strengths.
Yes, okay. A mentor is any safe and caring adult. So we want adults from all different kinds of backgrounds, because like Lisa said, any child who wants a mentor, we want them to have that opportunity. And they are matched based on common interests. So Lisa takes care of all of that. You meet 30 times a week, 30 minutes a week to an hour. You really let your mentor or your mentee drive what that time looks like. For example, last week, we sat and visited for a bit, and then we went and joined her bird watching group. So it was just, we can do all kinds of things. You can shoot hoops, play games, talk, eat lunch. So kind of whatever that time looks like for the adult and the mentee, it's really great.
So some of the reasons for mentoring is with Teammates specifically, we like that they keep a lot of data. So we have a common database that we use, Teammates database, to do all of our matches and all of that good stuff. And they give us data to let us know how it's impacting our community and our students and the mentors. And overall, 85 of Teammates mentees report that since being part of the program, they're more hopeful about their future. And that's a big deal. Hope is, we know, and well-being are to the things that we really want our kids, every single kid in our district to have. And so I really like that part of it. And you want to say?
Yes, and then 82% of mentors say that they leave feeling more engaged at home or at work after their meeting with their mentee.
Yeah, which is awesome. Also pretty awesome.
Very rewarding.
Yeah. So it's again 30 minutes a week at school. Teammates is separate from, it's not a school program. It's a 503C. So we have our own board that kind of governs it. The school district provides me as a coordinator, and then each of our building counselors are coordinators. It may not always be a counselor, but there'll be someone in each building that's a school district employee who is a coordinator for that building. But then it's governed and basically funded by other funds. The school can contribute some, but it's not housed in our district. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm not doing a good job of explaining that, but. And just so you kind of know where we're at right now, we have done very little. We're just kind of kicking it off. We, KCLY did an article for us about us a couple weeks ago. And then we've spoken at Rotary. We had a Wake Up Wednesday last week. And we plan to have pep rallies at all 3 of the schools that we're launching it. Where this year we're just piloting in 3 schools, Lincoln, Garfield, and the middle school. And at Lincoln, it's only 3rd grade. 3rd grade is the lowest grade that it goes from 3rd all the way through 12th grade. And then next year we plan to bring it to Wakefield into the high school and really get everybody involved at that point.
Also, the ultimate goal is for a mentor to follow a mentee through high school graduation.
Exactly. Not required,
Yeah.
but that's really when we know that is most meaningful, when they follow them long-term and provide that trusted adult relationship. So right now we have over 24, because I've even gotten a couple applications today, and 22 adults so far have applied to serve as mentors. So would love to have any of you be mentors. I think it'd be fun for you to try it. And that QR code is a link to the application if you're interested, or just go to teammates.org and you
So
can
what are
find
the
that.
other ways? Teammates.org? I mean, what are the other ways that people can apply?
I give them Lisa's number.
Yeah, just call. Yeah,
Just
So
call
give the board office
Yep.
number.
yep.
Okay.
Yes, for
Okay.
sure.
Are they getting, how is the word getting out, like in addition, like to maybe like older people in the community that are retired and have some time on their hands that maybe they could mentor a couple of students even, that maybe don't have a kid in the school? How are we getting word out to them?
That is currently what we are working on. We've been rolling out in the last couple of weeks, so we've been giving presentations and we're starting to hear the buzz about it and people talking about it. And so then we will go to churches, we will go to other community avenues as well, introducing the program to the community.
If you have ideas for us, let us know.
Yes, we
You're
would
gonna
love
run
that.
something in the church bulletins, correct?
Yes.
Instead of
Yep.
the church.
Yeah. So spread the word.
If it's taking place during the school day, where are you finding 30 minutes? Because if it's not, everyone's 30 minutes and then those kids are taken out of class. I mean, how do you find?
A lot of it will be done over the lunch hour. And so
Okay.
they'll have lunch with their mentee, or like Garfield has energy hour. They have an
Right.
hour, so we do a lot of it there. We'll try to pick during like study lab at the middle school, times whenever they're not
in full
missing a
classes?
class. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But we'll really work hard to make it work for both the mentee and the mentor.
Yeah, because it's hard to coordinate schedules.
Yeah, for
What
sure.
works for one adult may not work for the kid's schedule. So I was just
Yeah.
curious how you were working that out with the in-school time.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys,
Love it. Then we have one other item here under this section that we need to talk about, which is the position description that's included in your board information. So anything else you want to stand up there, Mr. Nancy?
I'd be happy to take any questions. I know we've been talking about it for a long time. We set this money aside back with that through basically through pupil budget year. So it's available and we would plan to use that for the extension of the grant. Obviously, when the grant runs out, we'd have to revisit that and or shift it, whoever this person would be around, or they, if they didn't get refunded, I know there's a lot of refunded options, but the person would go into this knowing that it was a 5-year commitment.
We plan to, if approved, plan to get this out ASAP. Start the application process. Okay.
It definitely directly ties to our goal of stakeholder engagement, which is so key for our success of our students. So
Yeah, along with the grant, you can see kind of at the bottom, the general responsibilities, a big portion, it's not gonna be an exact science, but about 0.6 of the time they'd be working with the district and going forward with the grant. And obviously, the role is going to combine in many, many areas, but a special focus would be ensure continued communication with community partners, to ensure successful outreach to various community partners, set a good tone for messaging and portray both organizations' values as the communications lead between the two organizations, establish relationships with media and other partners, developing strategic marketing plans and handling public relations. So that really that focus on communication, telling our story, seeking that feedback from community members on, what is the best way for you to receive information regarding our school district and the grant, and then implementing those under the coordination of both entities and myself.
With that, I'd like to move to give final approval to the community engagement coordinator job description and authorize administration to advertise that position. Second. Motion and second. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. All right, next item is technology purchase.
This is the second half of our staff laptops. We did it all in last fiscal year, and we always do that. We split it. And the middle school and high school are anxiously awaiting new laptops, as I hear quite frequently.
Patiently, anxiously.
Well, bless their hearts. Now you always spun the wheel, and they got Lincoln, Garfield, and Wakefield won. So it's their turn. So there's 85 of them. It's the first thing off of our 5-year technology plan, which we'll show you actually next month, but it's already budgeted for.
And the budget was $90,000 and it was $90,015.
Correct.
So right on budget.
Yeah, they're up just a little from what we paid for the first round. I mean, that's just kind of what we're seeing, so just a smidge. Yeah.
I move to give final approval to purchase staff laptops in the amount of $90,015 as presented.
Second.
A motion and second to approve. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then the last item under this section is the policy review and hearing date for JVCC.
Yeah, so another item that's been hanging out there a long time. So this came with KSB's updates in July-ish. And this was with the new statute. I did include the statute and the summary of the statute in your packet, so you could read verbatim what they asked us to do in Topeka. So the policy has to be in place by January, and we kind of set a timeline there for you. I think you guys have seen this policy 2 or 3 times, maybe under presentations. We've worked on it administratively. We've coordinated with other school districts, and there were some in our region. We all shared our version of what we had, and we each made some small tweaks here and there. I think we're all going to end up being very, very similar. And what we end up adopting, the law or the statute does require that you hold a hearing. And so our recommendation would be that we set a hearing for October, time it with the regular, set it in October, time it with our November meeting as a start of that. And then you guys could have the opportunity to talk about the policy in November and December and anything. And it would allow us a little bit more time to see what everyone else is doing. And then hopefully adopt in December would be the goal. But you would, I believe, have to set a hearing date today.
So our hearing date would be our next board meeting, which is November 13th. So we just need a motion to set November 13th as our hearing date.
Correct. Anytime.
And does it need an amount of time or just to start? Okay, I move to set our hearing date for November 13th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Motion and second to set hearing date for November 13th. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, anything else about this anyone wants to discuss? We have time. Let me understand what we're looking at here. Okay. Very good. I believe then that takes us to executive session. So we'll take a couple minute break and we'll return.
Okay, just time.
We're unmuted. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move into the executive session section. I move we go into executive session to discuss the private personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA. The open meeting will resume at, let's go, 7:42 in this room. The executive session will include the board, superintendent, and council.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Now,
We got about 30
Ready?
to
okay,
wait.
Oh.
Gotta wait till.
oh, we do, you're right.
Okay.
I thought it was some-
You are,
Non-purse, and now there was one added today.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
So,
Uh, Okay, now it's 7:42, so we can move on. Now we're back in session for the approval of personnel, the personnel report. Anything to discuss or add here?
I move to approve the personnel report, including supplemental electives as presented.
There's a motion and a second to approve as presented. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor?